This is always a tough one because sleeping pills are so powerful. But the new information is that it will screw up your memory. I think there's ongoing data that's trying to correlate why that happens. But I can tell you just from a gut feeling, usually what happens is when you take benzodiazepines like Xanax or clonazepam for sleep, it certainly relaxes anxiety type reactions at night. And some people have that, and that'll maybe shoo you into sleep. But the problem with benzodiazepines is that they rob REM sleep. If you watch my video on sleep, I don't remember which one it is. I think it's DrRic tutorial exercise and sleep. REM is a very big component of sleep. Everyone usually goes through about 6 REM cycles a night. So the stages of sleep are stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, REM, stage 4, and it comes back out, and it comes back out, up and down like that over the course of the night. And it's kind of cool because it's thought that if a bunch of people are sleeping together, or a tribe of people are sleeping together, there's not anyone that's at the same level, so that as you're coming out of the sleep, not waking up, but coming out a little bit, and then going back down in, the theory is that that one person that's coming out a little bit, back to maybe stage 2, he can be easily aroused, but if there's something coming, a predator or something rustling, that person will wake up and alert the whole tribe. So I think that sounds pretty rational. I think that's why we all have different stages of sleep. Otherwise, you'd be down and sleep and go into REM for 6 to 8 hours and come back up. That'd be cool. I wonder if bears go through that, or hibernation gives that. But anyway, the objective is that if you are getting good sleep, you're having those cycles of REM. If REM is screwed up like the benzodiazepines, then you might be able to shut your eyes because the anxiety is taken care of if you happen to be an anxious person. But you'll still be tired or need that coffee in the morning. So that's with regards to those medicines. Hypnotics like Sonata, Lunesta, well, Ambien, those medicines, they nudge you into sleep, but I don't think they give you refreshing sleep. And there's some fatigue that sometimes happens after using those medicines. Some people don't have dreams with it, so the question is whether there's a true dream state or whether it interrupts your REM cycles per night. The theory is still out, but the fact that they're finding correlations with memory, I'd probably say don't take it forever. Try to figure out what your sleep cycle is, or try to figure out what your sleep problem is. If you have apnea, if you have a parasomnia, best to get a sleep study. Most insurances will cover a sleep study. I believe that you have to have a home sleep unit to evaluate and find a little bit of an abnormality. Then you go see the pulmonologist for an overnight. And the sleep study it checks your oxygen, checks your EKG, checks your movement, checks your brain waves. So that's why it has to be done in a center. And you would think, well, wait a minute, if you have to sleep someplace and you don't like sleeping in foreign places, how can you get this sleep? But they should still be able to get a small chunk of what happens to your brain, what happens to your breathing during sleep. So it always is important. Then the specialist, whether they're neurologists or pulmonary guys, specialists are very good with what to do. I think they actually have, a lot of the sleep centers actually have psychologists that are trained in sleep as well. Because this is a multi-million-dollar industry, and a lot of people are really suffering. And why? Well, the average American lifestyle sucks. We're drinking way too much coffee. There's a Starbucks everywhere. There's like a Starbucks every other block in the city. And there are lines, and it's kind of fun to be in a cafe with free Wi-Fi and all the coffee you can drink. But, you know, even if you don't have the jitters, and even if you can get to sleep, if you had a coffee, it can affect the brain and the way it tries to sleep later, so that you'll be tired the next day and you'll need what? Another coffee the next day or more. So it sets you up on a bad cycle. And hey, how many people have reflux in the United States? You shouldn't be drinking coffee, period. So I usually say that if you're on a medicine like a hypnotic like that, well, if you're on benzodiazepines, you need to get help. Professional help, psychologist, maybe wean off, get onto a better circadian rhythm, take care of the anxiety. If you're on a hypnotic like Lunesta, Sonata, or Ambien, it would be helpful for you to work on your sleep cycle. Hygiene is very important. Sleep hygiene is very important. I always say if you wanted to wean off of one thing and try to wean onto another, there's nothing herbally that's as powerful as the Lunesta, Ambien, or Sonata. So don't expect the same. You'll have to do a poker of different things like I just showed you to take off this. And I would probably say if you have some vacation time, that'd be the perfect time to reset your sleep rhythm. So how do we do that? Well, we'll plan it, number one, because you're going to be a little groggy for the first week, since I bet you a couple of the initial nights not taking the Lunesta, Sonata, or Ambien, you're going to have a problem with tossing and turning because your brain's used to having that hypnotic punch. So get ready for being sleepy the next day, but do not go to sleep. So I'd say pick a cold turkey day and make sure you have some time off of work because you'll be grumpy. Make sure that your days during that 10 to 14 days of weaning off and weaning on are busy. Because if you do it in the winter when you can't be busy during the day, you'll fall asleep in the day and you'll really screw up your sleep. So summer vacation, activities, water sports, that's really stimulating. You're outside. The sun is the best thing for fixing up circadian rhythm. Best stimulant. You don't need a drug. It's free. It's there for about 12 hours. So, and I just said wean off and wean on, but again, sometimes it's just cold turkey, get off. If it's too abrupt and you want to do every other day while you're weaning on aggressively with the herbs, that's fine too. But most important, again, is circadian rhythm and planning the day. The day after a bad night's sleep, you have to be active, you have to be challenged. You have to be exposed to sun outside. You can't be in boring situations. You'll just fall asleep. You can't be driving long distances. You'll just be falling asleep. So plan it. No one's ever had a 14-day vacation, and I want to be what you're doing if your 14-day vacations are often, but at least a 5-day vacation and then maybe a weekend on top of that. But so plan the day so that you have a lot of activity. Maybe plan a training of some sort so you can use energy and an aggressive pump, like a heart pump or a muscle pump, to also wake you up. And when do we usually get tired? Usually there's a cortisol fall at about 12 or 1, especially after a high carbohydrate meal. So if you plan an exercise routine and a light lunch instead, you might be able to get past that little notch in the cortisol level and get into early evening without having to take a nap. So, and that too is important. So exercise can turn on liveliness, endorphins, adrenaline. Don't over-exercise or you get too tired. Don't hurt yourself if you're too tired in your exercise. Plan it right. Engaging conversation will also help. The meal, as I mentioned, if you do a mostly protein breakfast and a mostly protein lunch and save a little bit of carbohydrate burst, a healthy carbohydrate burst for dinner, that would also help with keeping you awake with the protein, can't you sleepy when it's time to sleep. Sometimes padding your night and making sure that you're quiet. It's not, there's no lights, no ambient lights, no extra sounds or people coming home late at night, no parties in the house. Temperature is a little cold and you've wound down. Maybe self-massage, maybe nice soft music, no alcohol, because alcohol initially gets you to sleep, but after the alcohol is lifted out of the body from digestion by the liver, then the brain is wide awake and you wake up later on in about 6 hours, 4 hours. So no alcohol. No coffee, as I mentioned the day before. And then you make that ritual where you're getting into that cocoon state right at bedtime, same time every day for about 7 days straight. Remember, you can check out my video, DrRic question sleep ritual. I'll tell you what my sleep ritual is, and you might be able to mimic it. I like to stimulate into calm all 5 senses. And you can watch the video for that. If you happen to wake up middle of the night, and so the herbs to take at night. If you're lacking magnesium, and most people are, I like MagMind. MagMind was produced by Yarrow brand. They took magnesium and bound it with threonate, or made magnesium L-threonate. Now this supposedly has an easy access into blood-brain barrier, so it gets to the brain real easy. In other words, the binding the compound that they make this has gets into the gut real easy, gets in the brain real easy, gets across the bloodstream real easy. So I think it's kind of weak. You can't go by the dose on the back because it says up to 2,000 milligrams of this type of magnesium. But most patients know that I like to have my patients take 200 to 400 milligrams at night. That's usually magnesium, potassium aspartate, and 200 milligrams to 400 milligrams in the morning. So when you look at this and say 2,000, well, that's a lot. Well, just try to take this. If you're low on mag or if you have problems with magnesium deficiency like constipation, palpitations, muscle soreness, or anxiety, take 2 to 3 at night, see how it goes. If you have a side effect, watch for side effects. There'll be problems with loose poop. If you have any problems with kidney deficiency or insufficiency, you might have to watch how much you take too. Ask your doctor. So magnesium, if you're low on it, take it. I like 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan. It's a building block for serotonin. Serotonin relaxes. Happens to have a sedating effect too. Start out with 50 and then after a couple of days go to 100 milligrams every night. That's what I do. Doing both together, it's up to you if you want to throw a recipe of different things to combat the withdrawal from the 3 prescription medicines I mentioned. You might need all that stuff. If you want to save your money, go one at a time, that'd be fine too. But remember, if we're trying to get off and wean on, you only have that 7-day window of being irritable, grumpy, and you know, experimenting. And hopefully after the 8th day, you're good to go. You can smooth into not taking that medicine anymore and maybe a pretty decent ritual for sleep and continue to rack the ritual up for several more weeks so it's rock solid. Sometimes if I'm having a lot of problems, I'll have valerian, or I take valerian. Valerian and hops will also have a way of initiating the brain into a first stage, second stage sleep, make you go from beta wave, where you're listening to me talk, to alpha wave, to delta, theta. So it slows down the brain. It's nice, but I think this too has a limited effect, and it washes out of your system after a couple hours. So still got to make sure that your ritual, your temperature in your room, your quiet, everything has to be perfect for you to stay asleep. Sometimes if people wake up in the middle of the night, I'll use spray on melatonin. The melatonin that you eat is usable, and you can keep it low, 1.5 to 2 milligrams. But I like the spray because if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's like, oh man, it's 3 o'clock. Damn it, I got 2 more hours to sleep. And then suddenly that mind is thinking. And once you start that thought process, a little bit of an anxiety flare comes up and you initiate all this adrenaline to be released. So sometimes before I even think about it, if I'm up and it's like, oh, okay, what am I going to do now? Well, spray, 2 sprays. Usually that's the equivalent of 2 milligrams. And you're good to go. Source Naturals is the melatonin spray. And why do I like the spray? Well, number 1, if you leave it under the tongue, it gets absorbed fast. Number 2, you can just roll over the side of the bed, spray, put it back down, and you don't even have to get up. And there's no water. Remember, if you take it with a swig of water, if you have a pill by your bedside, take it with a swig of water, you're going to have to pee sooner or later. So thus the problems with your pills, if you're taking these things at night, right before you sleep, could be a little bit of a problem with you having to pee. So try to do it with a swig if you can. And then, again, in the daytime, when all that is taken care of, cool. If you do have to get up in the middle of the night and you're not able to fall back to sleep in 15 minutes, get up. Just eat that time that you're up. Get a book. Don't watch a screen. You should always be using your eyes to get tired, and books are tiring and boring. The books, I love reading, but they are a lot harder to pay attention to when you're tired because you have to follow, you have to comprehend, you have to turn the page, and then you find yourself reading the same sentence over and over again. That's when you're getting tired. Now, when you're watching a screen like now, you can listen to my voice and be dumbfounded and not even you're not even paying attention. You can still listen and just follow the conversation. So it's too easy for the brain to be sucked into watching a screen, whether it's a phone, whether it's blacked out, whether it's black and white, whether it's a TV, it doesn't matter. Computer, the eyes, when they see a screen and the lights, the brain starts to turn off melatonin from the pineal gland, and it says time to wake up because it's daytime. So try to avoid screens as best as possible. Keep it dark if you can. And there's always meditative practice. If you can and you're trying to calm, get back to sleep, you've done your reading, do the breath exercise. Sit in silence. Have some aromatherapy around, lavender, sandalwood that slows it down. Sometimes repetitive mala beads if you're a yoga practitioner. If you're not, there's a lot of power in mindfulness practice, so this is about the time that we're going to initiate it. And hopefully it works. If it doesn't, don't sweat it, but the next day when the morning rolls around, get up at the same time you're supposed to start your hard set day and stay up until the first meal, the second meal, third meal, and then the exercise, and then sleep. Not in that order, but if you decide to sleep in, you just blew it because your brain is going to get catch-up time. It's going to remember that's the catch-up time. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. So it's going to be tough, but stimulate, stay awake. And that's where I say it might be necessary to get some coffee. But you should try some D-ribose. Try a little bit of B12 powder form. That'll kind of wake you up too. And then again, stay active during the day. That might just get you to the next day, and then hopefully the next night is better. If it's not, same thing. Just wake up at the same time. So you got to be waking up at the same time for 7 days to 10 days straight, going to sleep or starting the sleep ritual at the same time, 7 to 10 days straight, eating the same time, exercising the same time, doing the same old stuff. So if you get that ritual going, I always liken it to teaching a puppy. You teach a puppy how to poop. Same time every day, right after eating, you take the puppy out, let him sit there with the chain, and you wait. Let him do his business, and then you go back in. If he wants to go out at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you don't necessarily let him go out all the time. I know it sounds bad, but you're training that puppy to just dump anytime it wants. That's not what we need. I mean, it has to be housebroken. So there's a time to poop, time to eat, time to play with the family. It's easier for the puppy, easier for the family. Less stress in the long run. And the puppy also appreciates that. You know, those dogs can get anxiety too. If they want to go out and you're not around, what are they going to do? They're going to poop and then they're going to wait for you to get home. They'll be anxious waiting for you because they know they're going to get spanked. That's not cool. So a lot of psychology in that. So same thing with the sleep. If the brain knows ritual, it's real easy. It just might be not so easy trying to break into it. So that's how addictive those 3 medicines are. That's how powerful those 3 medicines are. And remember, it's not that they're physically addictive, they're behaviorally addictive. So it's a different category. However, try your best. I don't like the medicines. If there's a true root cause problem, find that problem, work with an integrated specialist, maybe see an acupuncturist, work with a psychologist to develop a mindful practice, exercise a little bit, know the foods that you're supposed to be eating when you're trying to make this healthy lifestyle change, and give it a try, but have a dedicated time, and hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, pull back, get back on the medicine, stop suffering, and get ready for the next time you're going to take off and wean on.